I never planned to become a hero that night. I wasn't even supposed to be anywhere near the Sterling Towers ballroom. I was just a single dad, a man trying to keep my head down and earn enough to give my daughter, Amora, the life she deserved. But destiny doesn't knock. Sometimes it shoves you straight into the fire. I remember the moment everything changed. The music, the lights, the glittering chandelier above the guests, and then a scream, a flash, a decision I didn't have time to think about. I only remember tossing the tray out of my hands and running, my heart pounding like a war drum as I lunged toward the CEO's daughter, Layla Sterling. I didn't know her. I didn't know why she was being targeted. I didn't even know if I'd make it. All I knew was that she looked terrified, exactly the way Amara had looked the night her mother walked out on us. Something inside me snapped. No more losing the people I care about. So I shielded her with my body, wrapped my arms around her shaking shoulders, and whispered the first thing my mind could form. "You're safe now." But the truth? We were not safe. Not even close. Because what happened in that ballroom was only the beginning. Of betrayal. Of secrets buried by billionaires. Of a revenge plot crafted in shadows. And of a fight I never asked for. But I was about to become the center of. And this is the story of how a regular man, a single father just trying to survive, was dragged into a world of corruption, danger, and lies. And how I brought it all crashing down. I'll start exactly where it began. 4 days before the Sterling Towers incident, when life was still simple, or at least simple enough for a man raising a teenage daughter alone. It was 5:12 a.m. The world was still quiet, wrapped in that kind of dark that feels heavy, as if it's pressing you down. And I was in the kitchen staring at the empty fridge, trying to calculate how to stretch 3,800 Nigerian nairas into 3 meals for me and Amara. "Daddy." Her sleepy voice drifted in from the hallway. I turned, forcing a smile. She was still in her big pink bonnet, rubbing her eyes like she used to when she was 5, even though she was 13 now. "You're up early," I said. She looked at me carefully, the way she always did when she suspected I was hiding something. "I heard you counting money again." I sighed. "I'm fine, baby. Everything's fine." "But kids, they hear what you don't say." She walked over and hugged me. "Maybe you can ask your boss for more shifts." My boss, Mr. Randall, a man who treated his staff like they were disposable forks. "I'll figure it out," I told her. Except I didn't have a plan. Not until a strange message vibrated on my phone at 5:23 a.m. "Urgent. Staff needed for high-profile event at Sterling Towers. 80,000 Nigerian nairas for one evening. Respond ASAP." 80,000 Nigerian nairas. For one night. That was more than my monthly salary. I didn't even hesitate. I texted back, "I'm available." And that was the moment. The exact second. I unknowingly stepped into a world I didn't belong in. A world where powerful people played dangerous games, and where someone had already decided Layla Sterling must not leave the gala alive. But me? A single dad with nothing left to lose? I was about to ruin their entire plan. By the time the evening of the Sterling Gala came, I had ironed my only decent shirt so many times the collar felt stiff like cardboard. The event agency sent a message saying all staff must look polished and invisible. Invisible. That part, at least, I was used to. Before I left the house, Amara stopped me at the door. She slipped something into my pocket, a small folded paper. "What's this?" I asked. "A prayer," she said shyly. Just come back home safe, okay? You always say we only have each other. My chest tightened. I promise. But I didn't know that promise would be tested harder than anything in my life. The arrival. Sterling Towers looked like something out of a billionaire's fever dream, glass walls reaching into the sky, gold lights pooling on marble floors, guards in suits that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. The entire foyer smelled like wealth, polished wood, imported roses, and stress. The kind of stress rich people had when they were pretending their world was perfect. As soon as I walked in, a supervisor shoved a silver tray into my hands. What's your name? Daniel, I said. Doesn't matter. Stay alert. No mistakes. The Sterlings are particular. Particular was an understatement. Even the guests were frighteningly glamorous, diamonds flashing, perfume thick in the air, cameras popping every few seconds. But the Sterlings themselves? They didn't walk into a room. They entered it, like royalty. I saw Elijah Sterling, the CEO, feist, tall, commanding, eyes sharp like he was always calculating something. Standing beside him was his only child, Layla Sterling, in a deep emerald gown, looking like she was made of confidence and ice. Beautiful, yes, but also sad, tired, like someone who lived every day bracing for impact. I didn't know why I noticed that, but I did, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. The first sign. Around 8:47 p.m., I was serving drinks near one of the back exits when I spotted a man who didn't fit in. Everyone else sparkled. He didn't. He wore a security uniform but walked like someone who wasn't used to taking orders. His eyes kept drifting to Layla, not with admiration, but calculation. I looked around. None of the Real security seemed to notice him. A cold feeling crawled across my spine. Something was off. When he reached under his jacket, I shifted my tray and moved closer, pretending to replenish glasses. Then, he pulled out a small handheld device, a signal jammer. My throat dried. Why would someone need that in the middle of a gala? Unless they wanted every camera to fail at the exact moment something happened. The second sign. Half an hour later, while the CEO gave his speech, the lights flickered. Just for a second. Barely. Noticeable. But I saw it. Because the man with the fake uniform glanced upward as if he was waiting for something. My heartbeat started racing. I kept pretending to serve, but my eyes stayed locked on him. That's when he whispered into an earpiece, too quietly for anyone else to hear. But I read his lips. Target in position. Target. My breath hitched, and then he looked straight at Layla. That was the moment everything inside me shifted. I wasn't security. I wasn't a guard. I was just a single dad with a tray in my hand. But danger has a way of choosing people. And it had chosen her. The moment before the storm. The gala music rose again, soft and elegant. But in my head everything sounded like thunder. I watched as the fake officer adjusted his jacket, and I saw the outline of something metal inside. Fear punched through me. My hand shook. The tray trembled. I should have walked away. It wasn't my business. But then I saw Layla Sterling smile politely at a group of guests, completely unaware that someone had just marked her as a target. She looked so young, barely in her 20s. Someone's child. Someone who deserved to go home tonight. And something inside me whispered the same words I always whispered when Amara was in danger. Not on my watch. I put down the tray, flexed my fingers, and started moving toward her. Each step was slow, cautious, controlled. I didn't know what I was walking into. I only knew this. A storm was coming, a deadly one, and I was about to walk into the center of it. I always thought moments of danger came with warning bells or dramatic music like in the movies. But real danger slides in quietly, so quietly you only notice it when it's too late. When I took those steps toward Layla Sterling, I wasn't a hero. I wasn't brave. I was terrified. My hands were sweating. My heart felt like it was thudding inside my throat, and every instinct in me screamed, "Walk away, Daniel. This isn't your fight." But then I remembered something. The way Amora hugged me that morning. The way she said, "Come back home safe." The way she trusted that I could protect her no matter what. And something inside me decided that if someone was going to get hurt tonight, it wasn't going to be someone's child. Not again. Not ever. The build-up. I slipped through the crowd, keeping my eyes on the fake officer. He kept one hand near his jacket, his posture stiff, his attention locked onto Layla, like he was waiting for the perfect moment. The music softened. The CEO lifted his glass for a toast. Everyone leaned in. And then, the lights flickered again, just for a heartbeat. Barely noticeable, but it was enough. The fake officer moved, and so did I. The moment everything changed. Time didn't slow down. It dropped. I saw the man reach inside his jacket. I saw Layla turn slightly, her smile fading as if she sensed something was wrong. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just reacted. I lunged forward, knocking past two guests. My shoulder hit a table. Someone gasped, "Hey, watch!" But I didn't hear the rest. All I saw was the man raising something hidden inside his jacket. And I heard a sound, sharp and sudden, like metal snapping, like danger waking up. Layla froze. Her eyes widened. Fear, pure fear. Instinct took over. I threw myself forward, arms out, grabbing her by the shoulders. She stumbled into me, shocked. "What?" "Get down!" I shouted. I pulled her toward the floor, shielding her with my body as chaos erupted behind us. Not loud, not explosive, just a rush of movement, gasps, chairs scraping, people screaming without understanding why. Beneath me, Layla trembled. "Who are you?" she whispered, voice shaking. "Doesn't matter," I said. "You're safe now. Just stay down." But safe was a lie, because I could feel it. This wasn't random. This wasn't a mistake. This was a planned attack, and I had just stepped right into the center of it. The aftermath of instinct. Security swarmed. Guests panicked. But the fake officer, he slipped into the confusion, disappearing before anyone realized he didn't belong. Layla clung to my arm, still shaking. Her father, Elijah Sterling, pushed through the crowd, face pale, voice sharp. "Layla, are you hurt? What happened? Who is this man?" I stood slowly, helping her up. She pointed at me. Oh, only he noticed. He saved me. Elijah's eyes locked onto mine. Confusion, suspicion, relief, and something else. Something calculating. He stepped closer. "You, what exactly did you see?" I hesitated, because I already sensed something dangerous. Whatever had just happened. Elijah Sterling already knew more than he was admitting, and that meant I had just stepped into a storm far bigger than a single night's chaos. The unforgettable words. As security rushed Layla away, she looked back at me, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't leave, please." Something about the way she said it hit deep. My life had just changed. Her life had almost ended. And now, our paths were tied together, for better or for worse. I didn't know it yet, but this night was only the beginning of a war that would expose lies, tear open old wounds, push me to my limits, and force me to confront the people who thought they could ruin innocent lives without consequence. And by the end of it, they would learn exactly what happens when a father with nothing to lose is pushed too far. They escorted me to a side room, one of those glass-walled conference spaces that looked too fancy for anyone owning less than 7 zeros. Behind me, the noise of the gala kept echoing like a distant storm. Inside the room, everything felt too clean, too bright, too controlled. Elijah Sterling entered first. Tall, cold, intimidating without raising his voice. The type of man who could make a room silent just by breathing. Behind him, 2 security officers followed, real ones this time. They shut the door, and suddenly I understood. Saving his daughter didn't automatically make me a hero. In a Billionaire's world, everyone was a suspect first. Elijah paced once, then turned sharply. "Start talking," he said. "Tell me exactly what you saw." I swallowed, hands clasped in front of me. "There was a man pretending to be security," I said. "He had a signal jammer. He kept watching your daughter. When the lights flickered, he reached under his jacket. I reacted." One of the guards scoffed. "And you expect us to believe you identified a trained infiltrator when our entire team didn't?" I looked straight at him. "I'm a father," I said quietly. "People who mean harm, they move differently. You learn to see danger before it reaches your child." Something changed in Elijah's eyes. Not softness. He didn't have that in him. More like recognition. He nodded at the guards. "Leave us." When they exited, Elijah stepped closer. "Why did you protect Layla?" he asked. The question sounded simple, but it wasn't. There was something buried beneath it. Fear, or maybe guilt. I answered honestly. "Because she looked scared," I said. "Because someone was about to hurt her. And because my daughter would want me to protect someone in danger." Elijah exhaled slowly, as if I'd said something he didn't expect. But then, his tone hardened. "Listen carefully, Daniel. You've stepped into something far beyond you. Far beyond this event. Layla is—" He paused, choosing his words. "She is important. Too important. People want leverage over me, and they try to get it through her. So someone tried tonight." I asked. His jaw clenched. He didn't answer, and that silence told me everything I needed to know. Someone had tried, and it wasn't the first time. The warning. A knock came at the door. A young woman, probably a Sterling assistant, rushed in. "Sir, someone dropped this envelope. For him." She handed it to Elijah, who passed it to me without breaking eye contact. The envelope was black. No name. No seal. Just weight. Heavy with meaning. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single small card. 5 words. 5 words that made the room tilt. "You should have walked away." Elijah stiffened. "Let me see that." But I pulled the card back instinctively. Whoever sent this, they didn't send it to him. They sent it to me. The single dad who wasn't supposed to matter. The man who was supposed to stand by and pretend he saw nothing. Someone was watching. Someone who didn't like that I interfered. Elijah's voice dropped low. "Daniel, go home. Now. Stay hidden. Keep your daughter close. And if anything happens, anything strange, you call this number. He slid a card across the table. Are you saying my life is in danger? I asked. No. He paused. Your life changed tonight. There's a difference. Leaving the towers, they let me go through a back exit. No applause. No gratitude. Just tension and shadows. Outside, the night air felt too cold for Lagos. Too sharp. I clutched the card in my pocket, the threat, and kept replaying everything. I'd only gone there for money. 80,000 Nigerian nairas. That was it. And somehow, I'd walked into a war. A war I didn't understand yet. A war that involved billionaires, enemies in disguise, and someone determined to hurt Layla Sterling. I started walking toward the bus stop, heart still pounding, thinking only of Amara. Her prayer folded in my pocket. Her soft voice that morning. Come back home safe. And as I headed down the dim street, I felt it. Eyes on me. Watching. Tracking. Following. I tightened my fists. I wasn't looking for trouble. But trouble had already found me. And whatever was coming next, I could feel it in my bones. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. By the time I reached my street, my nerves were stretched thin. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow felt alive. I told myself I was overthinking it, that stress was making the world feel sharper than it really was. But when you're a parent, your instincts never fully quiet. The streetlights near my house flickered weakly, casting long, broken shadows across the road. Our small apartment building stood ahead, nothing fancy, nothing special, but it was home. Safe, warm, mine, until I saw him. A tall figure leaned against the wall beside my front gate, hands in pockets, posture too relaxed to be casual, head tilted slightly as if he'd been waiting a long time. And the moment his eyes lifted and locked onto mine, every warning bell inside me exploded. He pushed off the wall slowly. Too slowly. Daniel, he said softly, almost politely. Long night. Huh. My heart dropped. He knew my name. Before I even opened my mouth, he already knew everything he needed to. I didn't go closer. I stayed right where I was, feet planted on the pavement. What do you want? I asked. His lips curved into a smile that wasn't a smile at all. Simple, he said. A conversation. I'm not interested. Oh, but you should be. He took a step forward. I took one back. Then he gestured to my building's window, the one with the pink curtains. Amara's room. You have someone precious up there, don't you? He asked quietly. My blood turned cold. Ice cold. Leave my daughter out of this. He lifted both hands like he was calming a wild animal. I don't want to hurt anybody. Truly. I'm just here to deliver a message. I clench my fists, then deliver it from where you're standing. His expression sharpened, like he was quietly amused by my defiance. You ruined something tonight, he said. Something carefully arranged. Someone very important was counting on the chaos. He tilted his head. And your little act of bravery? It complicated things. I protected someone. I said, that's all. No. His voice dropped, calm but chilling. You interfered. Wind rustled through the trees, but everything else felt still, frozen. What do you want? I repeated. He stepped back just slightly, as if deciding to end the conversation. To help you, he said simply. Walk away. Quit your job. Don't return to Sterling Towers. And most importantly, stay away from Layla Sterling. My jaw tightened. And if I don't? He studied me for a moment, eyes scanning me like a strategist evaluating a threat. Then he leaned in just enough for his words to reach me clearly. Then you and your daughter will learn the hard way why some wars aren't meant for ordinary people. A chill rolled through me. Is that a threat? I asked. No, he said calmly. A prediction. And with that, he turned, walked to the corner of the street, and disappeared into the night. I stood outside for a long moment, forcing my adrenaline to settle before I entered the house. I didn't want Amara to see my fae. When I finally stepped in, she sat on the couch, sketchbook on her lap, waiting up for me. You're late, she said softly. I closed the door behind me and forced a tired smile. Work ran longer than expected. She studied me, the way only a daughter can, with eyes that saw beyond the words. Daddy, are you okay? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to pretend life was normal. But I sat beside her instead and pulled her into a hug. A long one. Longer than usual. Her hand rested on my back. What happened? She whispered. For a moment, I considered telling her everything. But she was too young to carry this fae. I kissed her forehead. I just missed you, that's all. She smiled a little. I wrote another prayer for you. Another one? You're trying to make me cry tonight. She giggled softly, the sound softening the weight in my chest. I just want you safe, she said. I held her tighter. Little did she know. Because of what happened at the gala, because of the warning I received tonight, because some dangerous man now had his eyes on us, I didn't know if I could keep that promise. Not this time. After Amara fell asleep, I went to the small balcony, dialed the number Elijah Sterling had given me, and waited. He picked up on the second ring. Daniel, he said, I expected your call. Someone had been waiting outside my home. He threatened my daughter. But Elijah? His voice sounded eerily calm, like none of this surprised him. Elijah, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, what exactly did I get dragged into tonight? There was a long silence on the other end. Then he said the words I feared the most. Something very old, very dangerous, and something the Sterling should have handled before it reached you. My grip tightened on the phone. What do I do now? His answer was simple, but heavy. Stay alive. Then he hung up, just like that, leaving me with more questions and the chilling certainty that the worst was yet to come. Sleep didn't come that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that man standing outside my house. His calm smile, his warning, his eyes drifting toward Amara's window like he was already planning something. Parents can handle fear, but the idea of your child being in danger, that shakes you to your core. So I sat at the small dining table, elbows on my knees, head in my hands, trying to breathe through the storm in my chest. At exactly 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A voice whispered, "Check your front door." My heart stumbled, but I moved quietly, careful not to wake Amara, and peeked through the peephole. No one was there, just an envelope, a white one this time. I opened the door slowly, grabbed it, locked the door again, and returned to the table. My fingers shook as I tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No greeting, no instructions, only a location. Oceanside Car Park, Level 3. Come alone. And under it, 2 initials. LS, Layla Sterling. I sat still for almost a whole minute, staring at those letters. It made no sense. Why would she want to meet me? At this hour? In a place like that? Unless something happened. Unless she was in danger too. Unless the man who threatened me earlier hadn't stopped with just me. Fear wrapped around my ribs like a tight rope. But I knew one thing for sure. If the same people watching my home were watching hers, she might be alone, scared, hunted. And after tonight, I wasn't the kind of man who could ignore that. I scribbled a note and left it on the table for Amora. Went out for a quick job. Back soon. Lock the door. Don't open for anyone. Dad. Then I stepped into the night. The streets were quiet. Too quiet for Lagos. Not even a passing geek. Just the sound of my shoes hitting the pavement and my heartbeat thudding in my ears. I caught a Danfo heading toward the waterfront, but the ride felt like moving through a dream, dark, thick, heavy. By the time I reached the parking garage, my nerves were raw. Oceanside car park looked abandoned at night. Multiple floors of echoing emptiness, broken lights blinking in strange rhythms, shadows shifting like they were alive. My footsteps echoed as I climbed to level 3. Each step felt louder. Each breath felt sharper. By the time I reached the top, I wasn't sure whether to call out or stay hidden. But then, a voice whispered, "Daniel." I spun around. Layla Sterling stepped out from behind a concrete pillar, her arms wrapped around herself, eyes red from crying. She looked nothing like the icy billionaire princess from earlier. Now she looked human, vulnerable, scared. "Layla," I said softly, approaching slowly. "What are you doing out here? What's going on?" She wiped her eyes. I didn't know who else to call. We stood under a flickering light, the shadows shifting around us. "I know what you did at the gala," she said. "You saved me even though you didn't know me. And now," her voice trembled, "now you're in danger because of me." "Someone came to my house tonight," I admitted quietly. Her breath hitched. I knew it. They are watching everyone. "Who?" "Layla." I asked gently, "Who is behind this?" She stepped closer, her voice cracking. "It's not strangers, Daniel. It's not outsiders." She swallowed hard. "It's someone close to my father." I froze. "What do you mean, close?" She looked away, hugging her arms tighter. "Sterling Tower isn't just a company. It's a battlefield. And someone inside wants my father destroyed. They think the fastest way is to get to me." My chest tightened. "You should have told your father." "I tried," she whispered, "but he doesn't listen. He thinks he can protect me with bodyguards and cameras." She looked into my eyes, desperate, pleading. "But tonight proved one thing. If someone wants me gone, they are not afraid to move now." She took a shaky breath. "I need your help." I blinked. "Me? I'm not security. I'm just a father," she interrupted. "And you see danger before anyone else does. You caught things no one at Sterling Tower did." She stepped closer. "My father trusts the wrong people. The police won't help. He can't involve them without risking the company. And I can't go back there alone." She swallowed hard. "Daniel, I need someone who isn't connected to my world. Someone they won't expect." Silence settled between us. Weighty, real. Then she whispered, "Please, don't walk away." In her eyes, I saw fear, but also hope. The hope that maybe, just maybe, I was someone who could help keep her alive. And for the first time since the gala, I understood something. This wasn't just about her father's enemies. This wasn't just about some plot going wrong. This was personal. For all of us. My voice was steady when I finally answered. I'm not going anywhere. Her breath trembled out, relief, fear, gratitude all tangled together. But just as I took a step toward her, a car engine hummed from a lower floor. Then another. Headlights swung across the concrete, climbing upward. Someone else was coming, and they weren't coming peacefully. The engine noises echoed through the empty car park like thunder in a canyon. I froze, instinct taking over. Every muscle in my body coiled like a spring. Layla stepped back behind me, trembling. "Stay calm," I whispered. "Just stay behind me." I didn't know what we were facing yet. But I knew this. Anyone coming at her was also coming at me. The first car rounded the corner, headlights stabbing through the shadows. A black SUV. Its tinted windows hid the faces inside, but I could feel the intent. And then I heard another car. Then another. They were surrounding us. I grabbed Layla's hand and pulled her behind a pillar. "Stay down. Stay quiet." My mind raced. I had no weapons, no backup, no plan, just instincts. And in that instant, I made a decision I didn't think twice about. I would protect her, no matter what. Every lesson raising Amara came back to me, reflexes honed from nightmares, from fear, from never wanting to lose anyone again. I moved swiftly from pillar to pillar, keeping Layla in my line of sight. Then I saw it, movement above us. A shadow climbing the upper ramp, slow, calculated. Someone wanted to corner us. The SUV doors opened. 4 men stepped out, all dressed in black. Masks, guns, silent, efficient. My heart pounded. One of them stepped forward. "Sterling girl," he said, voice low and controlled. "You shouldn't have left the gala." I stepped in front of Layla, my hands clenched into fists. "You leave her alone," I said. My voice was firm, trembling only slightly. He laughed. "And if I don't?" I didn't hesitate. I lunged forward to block him. Reflex, instinct, protective fury. The others advanced, and for a moment it felt like time slowed. Every step, every breath, every movement was critical. I grabbed a metal pipe from a nearby railing, nothing fancy, but enough to make noise, enough to signal aggression. "Go away," I shouted. The masked man hesitated for a second. That hesitation? Enough. I kicked a loose cone at the tires of the SUV, creating chaos, making them scatter slightly. It wasn't much, but it bought Layla a few seconds. "Follow me," I yelled. I grabbed her hand and ran, leaping over a small gap between levels, landing hard but safe. The men shouted behind us. Footsteps echoed. Tires screeched, but we ran. Every corner we turned, I felt their eyes burning into my back. We reached the stairwell. I pulled her down fast. "Don't look back," I said, but even as we descended, I knew something was wrong. They weren't just after her. They were testing me, seeing how far I would go, and something inside me snapped. I realized this wasn't just survival. This was war. When we finally hit the ground floor, Layla gasped, tears streaking her cheeks. "You saved me," she whispered. "No," I said, voice low. "I didn't save you yet. I just bought time." Her eyes widened, confused. "They'll come again. And next time, they won't hesitate. But we're not running anymore. Not without a plan. Not without knowing who's behind this." She nodded, trembling. And I continued, fists tight. "Whoever thinks they can hurt the people I care about, they're going to regret it." That night, under the faint glow of the streetlights, I made a silent vow. I would find the people behind this. I would stop them, and I would make sure no one threatened my daughter or hers ever again. Because after tonight, there would be no more running. By the time we reached my apartment, the adrenaline that had kept me sharp all night began to ebb, leaving my body trembling and exhausted. Layla didn't speak until I closed the door behind us. "You brought me here, to your home," she asked, voice trembling. "Is this safe?" I gave her a small, grim smile. "It's as safe as I can make it. But don't forget, tonight wasn't just random. Someone is organized. They know exactly what they are doing. They won't stop until they get what they want." She nodded, eyes wide, still catching her breath. "And you're not scared?" I shook my head. "I'm scared. I don't run from fear anymore. I face it, especially when it involves people I care about." Her gaze softened. "You're different. I've never met anyone like you." I didn't answer. Words felt useless. We sat down at the small dining table, and I gestured for her to explain everything she knew. I've seen things," she whispered. "People in my father's company are playing games. There's money, influence, betrayal, and someone has been waiting for the right moment to strike." I tried to tell him, but he trusts the wrong people. He trusts appearances more than instinct. Her words made my blood run cold. "Who are we dealing with?" I asked. She hesitated. "I don't know exactly, but it's someone on the board, someone who wanted to use me as leverage. Tonight was a warning. They are testing us." I clench my fists. "So we fight back?" She blinked, startled. "Fight back?" "Yes," I said firmly. "We gather what we know, find out who's behind this, and make sure they regret ever thinking they could threaten you or anyone else without consequences." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Do you really think we can?" "I have to," I said quietly. "For me, for my daughter, for you." We spent the night going over the events of the gala, the threats, the man outside my house, and the surveillance footage she had access to through her father's cameras. "I noticed this guy," she said, pulling up a photo on her phone. "He's been around the building more than once. Security never flagged him because he's careful. But look at the way he moves. Every time he's near me, something happens." I studied the photo. My gut twisted. Something about him felt personal. "Mark him," I said, "and anyone associated with him. We need names, faces, patterns. We can't fight blindly." Her nod was determined. "Agreed. But we need someone on the inside who's not compromised." I paused. "Then we're going to find a way in. Quietly, carefully, and I promise, no one sees us coming." Through the night, we strategized. Every plan, every possible threat, every piece of intelligence became a small arrow in our quiver. Somewhere between whispered maps of the building and silent countdowns of surveillance rotations, I realized something. I was no longer just a single dad trying to survive. I was part of something bigger now, a battle that required every ounce of courage, every second of instinct, every risk I could take. And Layla Sterling? She wasn't just someone to protect anymore. She was my ally, someone who trusted me, even when the world around us was collapsing. By the time dawn broke, casting a faint golden light across my cramped apartment, I knew this. We had formed a secret alliance, and the people who thought they could control this game had no idea what was coming. By the second night after the gala, I hadn't slept more than a couple of hours. Every shadow in my apartment felt alive, every creak of the floorboards a possible threat. But I couldn't stop now. Not when we had a chance to turn the tables. Layla arrived at my door just after midnight, carrying a small laptop and a folder of files she had managed to extract from Sterling Tower. Her eyes were sharp, determined, and a little scared, just like mine had been at the gala. "We have everything we need for the first move," she whispered. I nodded, my heart thudding in my chest. "Then let's make it count." We spent hours poring over security logs, photos, and employee schedules. Slowly, a pattern began to emerge. There was one man who appeared more than the others, a shadow in the system, always near her, always watching, but careful not to be noticed. "Hey," I said, pointing at the screen. "This is our guy. If we know his routines, we can predict the next move." Layla leaned over, her hand brushing mine for a moment. My chest tightened. I shook it off. "Focus. We strike when he thinks we're blind," I said. "We make him regret underestimating us." She nodded. "Agreed. But we need to be smart. One wrong move, and it's not just me, it's you, too." "I know," I said. "I'm ready." We decided to bait him. I would appear alone near Sterling Tower, making it look like I was vulnerable, predictable. Layla had arranged a controlled escape route with security cameras and locked doors, enough to confuse anyone trying to follow us. Everything depended on timing, patience, and instinct. As I waited in the shadows outside the building, I replayed the words from the man who had threatened me. "Then you and your daughter will learn the hard way why some wars aren't meant for ordinary people." I clenched my fists. I wasn't ordinary. And tonight, I was going to prove it. Minutes felt like hours. Then I saw movement, a figure approaching, careful, deliberate, scanning the street. My heart hammered. The man stopped, looking straight at me. His expression was calm, almost amused, like he knew something I didn't. "You're persistent," he said, voice low, dangerous. "So are you," I replied. He smirked and reached for something inside his jacket. Instinct took over. I stepped forward, hands raised, ready to intercept. But then a noise, a click from above, caught both our attention. Layla's figure appeared at a nearby balcony, camera in hand. She had recorded everything. The man's eyes widened. I took the opportunity. Quick reflexes, precise timing, and a single shove sent him stumbling backward, tripping over a cable. He hit the ground hard, the device in his hand skittering away. I didn't wait. I ran to him, pressed my weight down on his chest, and glared. "You want to threaten children." I growled. "You want to hurt innocents? You picked the wrong people." He laughed through gritted teeth. "This isn't over." I knew he was right. It wasn't over. But I had sent a clear message. I was watching. I was aware. And I was ready. Layla joined me on the street, breathless but smiling. "You did it," she whispered. "No," I said. "We did it. Together." Her eyes met mine, full of gratitude, trust, and something I couldn't quite name. But even as we walked back, heart still racing, I felt it deep in my bones. This was only the beginning. The boardroom betrayers, the insiders, the people who had tried to manipulate and terrorize her, they were still out there. And I would stop at nothing to bring them down. Because by now, protecting her wasn't enough. It was personal. It was war. By the next morning, I hadn't slept a wink. My mind, kept replaying every move from the previous night, every step, every glance, every shadow. Layla was waiting outside my apartment when I stepped onto the street, laptop in hand, eyes sharper than ever. "We have enough now," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was a fire in it I hadn't seen before. Enough to start uncovering who's really behind this. I nodded. "Then let's finish what we started." We began with the insider files she had pulled. Employee schedules, access logs, security rotations, emails flagged as suspicious. It didn't take long for a pattern to emerge. One name kept appearing. Not a random employee. Not a low-level manager. It was Julian Crow, a senior executive on the board. Trusted. Respected. Untouchable in the eyes of the Sterling Tower hierarchy. But every trace, every connection pointed to him. He had orchestrated the gala chaos. He had planted the fake security officer. He had sent the threat to my home. And worst of all, he had been manipulating everyone around Layla to gain leverage over her father. I stared at the files, gripping the laptop so hard my knuckles turned white. "So this is him," I said quietly. "This is the man who started everything." Layla's eyes darkened. "And is smart enough to cover his tracks. We need proof, something undeniable." I nodded. "Then we trap him, like we did with the first guy, but bigger, smarter, faster." We spent the day planning. Every step, every camera, every potential witness, mapped and mapped again. I knew this wasn't going to be easy. Julian Crow was calculating. Cold. He thought he could control everything. But he hadn't counted on me, or on Layla, or on the fact that we weren't playing by their rules. We decided to lure him to a meeting using Layla as bait, but under controlled conditions. It was risky, dangerous, possibly suicidal. But I didn't hesitate. I had made a vow, and this was the moment to honor it. That evening, I parked a few blocks away from Sterling Tower, watching the building like a hawk. Layla was inside, pretending to meet Julian Crow alone. I could see through the security feed she had hacked every movement, every step. Julian arrived, all confidence and charm. A predator in a suit. He didn't know we were watching. And he didn't know that I had stationed 2 trusted allies outside the building, ready to intervene if he made a move. Every muscle in my body tensed as I waited. This was it, the moment where the game changed. Layla stepped out of the conference room after 10 minutes, laptop in hand, pretending innocence. Julian followed her, unaware he was walking into our trap. I watched from the shadows. Every step he took, every gesture, every glance, it was all being recorded. I felt a surge of adrenaline I hadn't felt since that night in the gala. Finally, the moment arrived. Julian reached for something in his briefcase, a device meant to cover his tracks, destroy evidence. I stepped out from my hiding spot, arms crossed, going some way. I said quietly. His eyes widened, then narrowed. Recognition. "Faye, you," he muttered. "Yes," I said calmly. "It's over. You underestimated the wrong people." Layla emerged behind me, holding the laptop like a weapon. "All of this," she said, gesturing to the files, "is going public if you make one wrong move." Julian's confidence wavered for the first time, and I realized we had him. Julian Crow didn't speak. He just stared, eyes darting between me and Layla, as if trying to calculate how he'd been outsmarted. I felt a strange satisfaction. Not joy, not triumph, not yet, just the cold, steady certainty that justice was finally within reach. Layla stepped closer, laptop in hand, her voice calm but firm. Every illegal move, every attempt to threaten me, every plan to manipulate my father, it's all here. Recorded, documented, sent to every board member, every legal department, every law enforcement channel. If you touch a single person, it's public. You're finished. Julian's face went pale. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Then it hit me. Something I hadn't realized before. Julian wasn't working alone. No, he had a partner. Someone even closer. Layla's phone buzzed. A message. He's not alone. He has help. Watch the lobby cameras. We switched feeds. My heart sank. A figure stepped into view, someone I should have trusted at Sterling Tower. A trusted security chief, someone who always had access, always seemed loyal. That was the missing piece. You're the insider, I said, voice low, dangerous. The one who made all this possible. He turned slowly, expression frozen. Recognition. Guilt. Fear. Yes, he said, voice almost a whisper. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Didn't mean for it to go this far. I repeated incredulously. You endangered a child. You threatened a father. You thought you could control people's lives for profit. His head dropped. I looked at Layla. She nodded slightly. I knew what we had to do. We didn't wait for backup. We didn't wait for anyone. Layla sent the laptop feed live to every board member, everyone who needed to know. Screens flashed across the building. Julian Crow, the insider, exposed. The security chief froze. Julian paled. I stepped closer, fists tight. You underestimated me, I said. You underestimated a father protecting children. You underestimated someone who doesn't care about money or reputation or fear. You thought you were untouchable, but you won't. Julian's arrogance crumbled. The insider tried to flee, but Layla had anticipated it. Doors locked automatically. Cameras tracked every move. They were trapped, and for the first time, I saw fear reflected back at me. I didn't strike. I didn't need to. Justice wasn't about hitting them. It was about showing them they had no control anymore. Julian and the insider were exposed. Their reputations ruined, their crimes documented, their plans destroyed. Elijah Sterling arrived just in time, finally seeing the full truth. He looked at me with something I hadn't expected. Respect. You saved her, he said quietly. I nodded. We saved each other. Layla stepped forward, placing a hand on my shoulder. I couldn't have done this without you. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to feel before. Victory didn't come from violence. It came from courage, from refusing to run, from standing in the fire when everyone else hid. And the people who tried to hurt the innocent, they got exactly what they deserved. Weeks later, life slowly returned to normal. Layla was safe, stronger, wiser. She smiled more freely now, no longer weighed down by fear. Amara hugged me every morning, unaware of the night terrors that had shadowed our lives, but feeling the difference. Her father calmer, braver, unshakable. Julian and his insider accomplice faced the law, their schemes unraveled, their arrogance destroyed. And me? I went back to being a single dad. But I was different now. Hardened, stronger, unafraid. I had faced danger, protected the innocent, and survived. And if anyone ever threatened my family again, They'd learn the hard way. Because by the time I was done, I knew this was true. You can't break a father's heart without paying the price. The storm had passed. The city felt different after everything. Quieter, somehow lighter. But inside me, I felt the calm that comes only after surviving a battle you thought you'd never win. Layla was safe. My daughter was safe. And the people who had tried to hurt us were finally facing the consequences of their choices. For the first time in weeks, I let myself breathe. Elijah Sterling called me to his office a few days later. I expected gratitude, maybe a handshake, perhaps a nod of approval. But what I received was more than that, respect. "You didn't just save my daughter," he said quietly. "You showed me what real courage looks like. You're not just a father. You're a protector." I nodded, letting the words sink in. I just did what any parent would do. I can't risk my child, or anyone else's, being hurt. He leaned back, studying me, then smiled faintly. "I underestimated you. That won't happen again." I smiled, too. Not out of pride, but relief. Later, Layla and I met at a quiet cafe. The world had returned to its usual rhythm, but we shared a private understanding that no one else could touch. "You know," she said, stirring her coffee, "I never expected to find someone like you, someone who would step into chaos and stand tall." I shrugged, smiling softly. I didn't expect to be involved in a billion-dollar war either. But here we are. She laughed lightly, a sound full of relief and freedom. "I'm glad you were there. I couldn't have done this alone." I reached across the table and gave her hand a firm squeeze. "You wouldn't have to. You'll never be alone. Not again." Her eyes glimmered with gratitude, and maybe something else, something unspoken. Coming home, the first thing I did was scoop Amara up into my arms. "Daddy," she squealed, hugging me tight. I held her longer than usual, breathing in the warmth, the safety, the certainty that she was mine and mine alone to protect. "I missed you," I whispered. "I missed you too," she said. And for the first time since that night at the gala, I felt truly at peace. Life doesn't hand you victories on a silver platter. It doesn't reward courage lightly. But it does give you moments like this. Moments where fear meets courage, chaos meets action, and the people you protect teach you the meaning of true strength. I learned that being a father isn't just about keeping your own child safe. It's about standing up when it matters most. It's about facing fear, darkness, and danger, even when the odds are stacked against you. And it's about teaching your child and yourself that bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. Weeks turned into months. Julian Crow and his insider accomplice were gone, prosecuted, exposed, unable to manipulate anyone ever again. Layla Sterling returned to her life with renewed strength, carrying herself differently now, calm, confident, and cautious, yet unafraid. And me? I returned to the rhythm of my life with Amora, teaching her, guiding her, loving her. But something had changed. I wasn't just a single dad. I was a protector, a fighter, someone who knew that, no matter what the world threw at me, I could face it and win. And if anyone ever dared threaten the people I cared about again, they would learn the hard way. You can't break a father's heart, and you can't touch the ones he loves without paying the ultimate price. The morning sun spilled golden light across the city, washing away the shadows that had haunted us for weeks. I stood on the balcony of our small apartment, holding Amora's hand. She leaned against me, sleepy-eyed but smiling, her little fingers wrapped around mine. "Daddy," she whispered, "are we really safe now?" I pulled her close, feeling the warmth and certainty I hadn't felt in a long time. "Yes, baby," I said, "we're safe, and no one is ever going to hurt us again." She giggled softly, the sound like music after the silence of Faye. Later that day, there was a knock at the door. Layla Sterling stood there, smiling, not the tense, scared girl from weeks ago, but confident, poised, and free. "Hi," she said softly, holding a bouquet of flowers. "I wanted to say thank you, properly, and I wanted to see how the real hero is doing." I chuckled, shaking my head. "I didn't do it for thanks." She smiled knowingly. "Still, I think you deserve it." Amara ran up to her and hugged her tightly. "You're safe too," she squealed. And for the first time, the three of us, stranger, daughter, and father, felt like a family in a new kind of way. Sitting together on the balcony later, watching the city pulse beneath us, I realized something. Life throws dangers at you that you can't predict. People will try to manipulate, threaten, or control you. But courage, real courage, isn't about being fearless. It's about standing when everyone else is running, protecting the innocent, and refusing to let fear decide your choices. I looked at Layla and then at Amara. "I promise you both," I said quietly, "nothing will ever put you in danger again. Not if I can stop it. And I will stop it every time." Layla smiled, her hand brushing against mine. "I believe you." Amara yawned and leaned against my chest. "I love you, Daddy." And in that moment, I felt it. The fear, the danger, the darkness from the past weeks, it was gone. We had survived. We had fought. We had won. And now, we could live. Truly live. The city sparkled below us, alive and full of possibilities. Julian Crow and his accomplices were behind bars. The Sterling Tower's internal betrayal was exposed. And we, three ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances, had rewritten the rules of our lives. I held Amara close and looked at Layla. No words were needed. The trust, respect, and unspoken bond was stronger than anything I could put into words. And as the sun rose higher, casting a warm glow over our little balcony, I whispered to myself, "Whatever comes next, we can face it. Together." For the first time in a long time, I wasn't just a survivor. I was a protector, a fighter, a father who had stood tall and won. And the world, no matter how dangerous, couldn't touch the people I loved. Not now. Not ever.